Okay, we can start. It's 5 o'clock. Okay, we will start. Om. Om Badram Karne Vishunuyama Devaha Badram Pashye Makshabiryajatraha Sthirairangai Tuštuvagam Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati'r Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we are in almost at the end of the second khanda of the second Mundaka, section 2 of chapter 2. We have just a couple of 2-3 mantras more. This section that we are currently going through actually takes us out of the thinking that we are, different from the Lord. Lord is somewhere, the God is somewhere, and we are somewhere, and so that is a very normal kind of perspective and conscious feeling with which we do vyavahara. Whereas this section is actually trying to challenge that, actually trying to suggest something very different, which is what we are actually going throughout this. Essentially, once the focus shifts from ocean, lake, etc. to water, then all these limitations of a lake and water in a pond or a ocean or a river or all that, those limitations actually disappear. So that is what the Upanishad is actually attempting at. It is somehow helps the sadhaka to develop this perspective that the Lord and you are not the ultimate Brahman, and the Jivatma are not two separate entities. Although at one level it appears, just as a lake is a lake and a river is a river and an ocean is an ocean. A mud pot is a mud pot, a mud teacup is a mud teacup, etc. So this set of mantras in this section is working hard on us through a meditative process, through a suggestive meditative process, by which it is making us think that these two are not two different entities. It is at a certain level, of abstraction, it looks like that, and in our daily life, we are more or less driven by that perspective. So, to think about it, so in a way, what is this section of Mundakopanishad? Because this is the core of the teaching. In this Upanishad, this 2.2 is actually the teaching. The earlier ones, 1.1, 1.2, 2.1 are all preparation towards here. This is where the core teaching is there. So the idea is to somewhere convert every one of us from the position of a creature to a creator. This is what, and I was just listening to Swami Paramarthananda. He used this word very nicely. He said the idea is to convert us from a mere creature into a position of the creator itself, right? And this will happen only if we are able to somehow shed this Dvaita Bhava. The Dvaita Bhava meaning, the God is different, I am different, everybody around us is different, the Sakala Jiva Rashi is different. So this world of duality has to be shed somehow. We need a way to travel on this path and somehow reach that feeling of oneness, the Advaita Bhava. That alone will get us to this situation. Otherwise, we will continue like this for janmas and janmas and janmas. What we do may be a matter of detail may change, but the basic structure may not change. If the basic structure has to change, then this dual thinking has to give way for a feeling of oneness. So that is what this section is actually trying hard through its set of mantras. That is what it is actually trying to do. Now, if you look at Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, it says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That is what it says. It says Satyam, Jnanam, and Anantam. These are the Lakshana, Sarupa Lakshana of, or in other words, Sat Chit Ananda. Now, what happens if you take every one of us? The Sat and Chit are available to us all the time. Sat is that existence. No, the notion of existence is there as long as we are alive, as long as we are, doing Vyavahara in this world. This notion of Sat is there with us. The notion of Chit is also there because there is this consciousness which is driving everything. That is the difference between a dead body and a person who is living, because a living person will be able to smell a peculiar odor or hear a noise or see something which a dead body cannot. So that is driven by consciousness. So the Sat and Chit we are able to sort of experience all the time. What we are not able to experience all the time is the Ananda part. And that is available to us once in a while. It's available. We are able to draw on it very sporadically, I would say, very rarely. And even that may be only in Ananda Lesha, a trace of Ananda than Ananda itself. Because in Taittiriya Upanishad itself, we find Shrotriyasya Chakamahatasya Te Yeshatam Manushyanam Anandah Sayeko Putrinam Chiralokalokanam Anandah Shrotriyasya Chakamahatasya. Like that, these are 10 power 20, 10 levels of 100, 100, 100 multiplied by 100 and so on. So all those are even Ananda Lesha. The description of the Anandamaya Kosha, all those came. So even that is considered to be a trace of Ananda, and that Ananda is available to us occasionally. It gets reflected in the mind. So what is happening is this Upanishad, and all the Upanishads for that matter, is trying to tell us to do a few things so that we'll be able to draw this Ananda on a very continuous basis rather than sporadically getting it at some time or the other. So that is what it is. So today we will see some an interesting mantra. Actually, if you had noticed, something good about Mundakopanishad. Mundakopanishad has some very beautiful mantras. So far, what you have said, I want to bring to your attention 3 mantras because they are very interesting. For example, we started in the first, Mundaka first chapter. What did happen? This Shaunaka went to Angiras, and what did he say? He said, "Shaunako havai mahashalaha Angirasam vidivat upasannaha papracha." Kasminnu bhagavo vijnate sarvomitam vijnatam bhavati. Look at the beauty of the question. We generally ask, can I have this? Can I have a little more this thing? Can I buy the latest model of car? Can I have a little more money? Can I have, a lot of money? These kinds of questions. Whereas his question is itself very interesting. He said, Kasmin Vijnate Sarvomitam Vijnatam. He asked a very high level question. Tell me, by knowing that I'll be known of everything, it must set us in a certain reflective mode. So the whole Upanishad started with that kind of a question. Another interesting mantra which I wanted to actually bring to your attention is I think the 12th or the 11th mantra is the 12th mantra in the second chapter of the first Mundaka, 1.2.12. It's again a very beautiful mantra. I did spend a little time talking about it. Very reflective mantra. It says, Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayan nastya krito kritaha kritena tat vijnanartam sa gurumeva bigacche samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. The most interesting part of this mantra is Parikshya lokan. After going through this world of experiences and reflecting on it deeply, karmachitan, all these are all in this destroying nature of karma pala. Karma gets destroyed, then karma pala is fraud, that also gets destroyed. You enjoy it or suffer it, whatever, it gets destroyed again. So this is another interesting mantra which puts us on a very reflective mode. In fact, the first Mundaka ended with this mantra. That's why it said Shrotriyam Samitapanim Brahmanishtam Tat Vijnanartham. Do we get out of this? So that is what this seeker, after so much of thought, finally said, let me go to a teacher. This is again a very interesting mantra to reflect. The third mantra, which I really liked a lot, a few classes before we saw, again, these are all nice mantras. This is Dhanur Grihitva Upanishadam Mahastram Sharam Hupasa Nishitam Sandadita Ayamya Tadbhava Gatena Chetasa Lakshyam Tadevaksharam Saumya Viddhi. That whole idea of how the Upanishad is the bow and how the Jivatma is the arrow, the Lakshya is the Brahman. It's a beautiful mantra. So, there are a couple of such beautiful mantras that you will see, which are very reflective, which are very nice to, contemplate on. I find such mantras are there. Today we will see one such mantra, again a nice mantra in Mundakopanishad that we will see. But before that, just to keep track and trace of where have we traveled in the second section, Dvitiya Kanda of the Dvitiya Mundaka, 2.2. We almost come to the end. So let us quickly try to understand what are all the things that we have done so that we consolidate that understanding and move on. So the first two mantras actually talked about the Jivatma and the Paramatma are the same. I started today's class by saying the very uddesha of this section is to destroy that dual feeling. Oh, God is somewhere, I am somewhere, people around are all different and so on. So the first two mantras planted that idea that the Jivatma and the Paramatma are same. And also it said it is located in the heart. Chetak Kuhare, Panchamukosti, Mekuto Bihi. In Sivanandalagari, that's what Shankaracharya says. So it is in that Chetak Kuhara, in that space, cavity in the heart. That's what the first two mantras of this section said. Then what did it say? In the next two mantras, just now I quoted that mantra, Dhanur Grihitva Upanishadam, that mantra just now I said. In the next two mantras, what this Upanishad is trying to do is it provided a methodology to meditate on this. How do we meditate on this? I mean, this is all fine. But how do we meditate on this? It said use the Upanishad, as the nice, analogy which we saw. So therefore, a methodology, it proposed a methodology of meditating on this idea using the scriptural support, sadhana, etc., etc. We saw all that. That's what the next two mantras did. Then came mantras 5 and 6, where it said that the place where you need to meditate is your heart. The place where you need to focus in your meditation is your heart. It talked about, the hub of the wheel, the nabi of the avara, I gave that even a pictorial view of that. So the Upanishad said that you have to meditate in the heart, because that is where you will locate this Brahman and experience this sense of oneness which I am talking about. Then we saw two more mantras, which we started last week. We will see one more mantra today. And that is, the Upanishad further says that if you really, try to do this meditation, the way I have been sort of proposing to you, what kind of a transformation will you go through as a result of this process? So this is where this is some sort of, if I may use the word for the sake of familiarity, if I use the word palashruti, sort of a thing. Although that is not the spirit of the Upanishad, because Upanishad is all along saying, get out of the notion of pala, but still, what really happens when we go through this process, that's where the section ends actually with 3-4 mantras actually. So we saw one mantra last class. I will quickly go over it again quickly, and then we'll move to today's mantra. So it says, Mano Maya Prana Sharira Neta Pratishtito Ne Hridayam Sannidhaya Tat Vijnanena Paripashyanti Dhiraha Anandarupam Amritam Yad Vibhati. This is what we saw last class in a little detail. It says Prana Sharira Neta. As we, transmigrate, one Janma is over, and then we go into the next Janma, then into the next Janma, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Janani, Jatare Shayanam Niti. That process is done by this. So this Paramatma, which is inside the cave of the heart, becomes the Karana Sharira or a Linga Sharira. See, we have a Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and a Karana Sharira. So the Stula Sharira is this body. The Sukshma Sharira is, Buddhi, Manas, Indriyas, and Ahankar, and so on. So when we drop, when the Janma gets over, this Sukshma Sharira and the Stula Sharira are dropped. So it is the Paramatma which carries this continuity, carries this forward in the form of a Sukshma Sharira. So the Prana Sharira Neta actually means Sukshma Sharira. That which carries this from one Janma to another Janma. Pratishtitaha Anne. So in the Annamaya Kosha, it is located now. Hridayam Sannidaya. It is the Garbhagraha is actually the Hridaya. So if you take a temple may have so many praharas, you may have pillars, you have Upadevatas and so on. If you go to a Vishnu temple, the Vishnu is in the Garbhagraha. Similarly, there is another prahara of Mahalakshmi, the Mahalakshmi in the Garbhagraha, Andal may be here, a few other devatas are there. But the main deity is in the Garbhagraha. If you go to Shiva temple, the Shiva, the Linga is in the Garbhagraha. But there may be prakaras, there may be other things. In the same way, the Yadyapi Pratishtitaha Anne, although this is located in this, what you call this Stula Sharira, the Garbhagriha is the Hridaya. Hridayam Sannidaya. So that's what it says. And then actually what happens starts from the second line. Up to this is up to the first line of mantra 7 is what the Upanishad has been saying, locate it in the heart, do meditation like this, etc., etc. From the second line onwards starts, if we really did that, where do we land? What will happen to us? So that starts from the second line. We saw it, but I will just a little bit touch on it and then go, because some part of it I didn't explain well. So second line says, Tat Vijnanena, having known it. Known meaning realized it, not known in a theoretical sense. We all probably know theoretically. It is not when this vijnana, that is called jnana. That is not vijnana. Visishta jnana is the vijnana. Jnana is knowledge. Vijnana is a experience, deep knowledge or anubhuti, which stays with you, whatever happens. Whether you drop your body, whether you drop your memory, whether we drop our manas and buddhi, that which stays with us is called vijnana. So that is why tat vijnanena, if a person had hardwired it into the, the karana sharira, the subtlest, it has gotten into it, it becomes part of the consciousness, so to say, tat vijnanena paripashyanti dhiraha, they actually see. Pari is all around, everywhere. Pashyanti, paripashyanti. Paripashyanti is everywhere. Whichever way, I mean, they see nothing other than that. That is, if you have to communicate anything like that in Sanskrit, you have to use the word pari. That's why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita said, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena shevaya. Pariprashnena means all kinds of questions you must be able to address. Only then jnana comes. So there he uses the word pari. Pariprashnena sevaya. Like that it says here, paripashyanti dhiraha. So they are able to see it, see through it, see it everywhere, see it at every avastha, at every stage, etc., etc. So that is called paripashyanti dhira, such dhiraha. Then what happens? Ananda rupam amrutam yad vibhati. So what they see is that Ananda Rupa. I started the class by saying Sat and Chit are available to us all the time. We are able to reasonably, feel it. Sat, we are able to feel it. Chit is also, we are able to feel it. That Ananda is deserting, it is evaporating, it is not in full measure, it is not available 24/7. Here, by using the word paripashyanti, it says Ananda Rupam Amritam Yad Vibhati. It says that Ananda is available on a 24/7 basis. It is not something which is of the fleeting nature. It is not something which came and went. This, once that experience is there, this person is nothing but Anandamaya. Nothing but Ananda Swarupa. That's why the Swarupa Lakshana of Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Anantasya Bhavaha Anandaha. That is why it is Ananta is Ananda. Anything which is infinite is the embodiment of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment. So Anandam Rupam Amritam Yad Vibhati. That which is immortal and that which shines, that which radiates in terms of Ananda and immortality. In other words, such a person becomes truly the experience of Sat, Chit and Ananda. So here, that Vijnanena, Shankara Bhashya, if you just see Shankara Bhashya, there are two qualifications Shankaracharya has given for what is this Vijnanena? How do we know? How do we get this knowledge finally? So for which he has given just two half line. I thought it was interesting. I wanted to just share with you. How did he qualify Vijnanena? In Shankara Bhashya, it says Visishtena. Visishtena means very special, not ordinarily available, very subtle and high level of Shastra. So the jnana comes through Visishtena. Visishtena Shastra Acharya Upadesha Janitena. See, there are two qualifications he has put. That knowledge does not come by reading by ourselves. That is the Shastra. Shastra part is a little bit of a basic knowledge. But Acharya Upadesha Janitena. So there are two conditions for this jnana to, the spurana of the jnana has to happen. One is Shastra knowledge, which invariably comes through an Acharya. And that Acharya Upadesha, which is the Shastra, Visishta Statra, Shastra. And Janitena, that jnana which is generated, which is developed in our mind through these long years of Acharya Upadesha, Shravana, Manana, etc., etc., through that. So that is one qualification Shankaracharya has given. Visishtena Shastra Acharya Upadesha Janitena. The jnana will be, sampadana of the jnana can happen. The second qualification that he gives in his Bhashya is Shama Dama Dhyana Sarvatyaga Vairagya Udbhutena. Every one of these words is very important. Shama. Shama is an Indriya Nigraha. Shama is much subtler. Dama is a little grosser. Somebody, disagrees with me, I shout back. Somebody who is, unleashing something on me, and then I retaliate back with my karmendriyas. So when I retaliate, when I respond, by and large with my karmendriyas, that is the dhamma, which is much more, manifesting, much more grosser. But then what is shama? The karmendriya actually takes instruction only from the manas. So if somebody has to shout at somebody, if A has to shout at B, the mind has to first instruct the faculty called mouth, and the mind has to supply all those bad words to shout at. So control at that level is called shama. It is much subtler. Shama, that's why the word shama is coming. Shama is a nigraha of a much higher order. And dhamma, if shama is there, dhamma will automatically happen. But if dhamma is there, does shama happen? We do not know. So only is a superset of the other. Then when shama and dhamma happens, the mind's distraction is to an extent come down. So such a mind will be a potential mind for dhyana. Otherwise, you sit in dhyana, all kinds of distractions, all kinds of they said like this, how do I do that? How do I, sort out this? How do I fix this fellow? How do I, make sure that he doesn't cheat me? All these thoughts, dhyana time. This is what happens to a mind which doesn't have an iota of shama and dhamma. But a mind which has started developing a certain amount of shama and dhamma, which is a progressive process. I'm not saying all these happen tomorrow morning, but as we progress on our ability in shama and dhamma, our mind will also find and progress on the route of dhyana, because this vacate the space and that space is available for the mind. So that is what happens. So shama dhamma will lead us to dhyana. Then sarva tyaga and vairagya are a pair. The sense of entitlement that we all have, knowingly or unknowingly, wantonly otherwise, intentionally otherwise, that's not the point. We all have a huge sense of entitlement on 100 things in our life. Both things in our home, near and dear, and things in the office and outside and so on. And we are wired like that. I'm not saying why, I'm not getting into the why part of it, but I am saying the more we are able to step out of that, that is the tyaga. Slowly give up a few things. I say, let things happen whatever way it happens. Because all those are the preparation for the jnana sampadana. Otherwise, all these are potential possibilities for the mind to get excessively distracted. And so knowledge does not happen in such a mind at all. The mind, if it is not a little settled, and the mind which is not having enough room for other things other than the worldly kind of issues, how can jnana sampadana happen? So sarvatyaga and a journey, baby steps in the path of sarvatyaga. The more and more we take steps in this journey of tyaga, that will alone take us to vairagya. Again, the vairagya is an outcome of our small little experiments of sarvatyaga that we need to do. As much as the dhyana is nothing but a small little experiments on shama and dhamma. So therefore, shama and dhamma will lead us to dhyana. Sarvatyaga should lead us to Vairagya. So Uddutena, with all these kind of efforts, only that we will be able to reach. So Shankaracharya gives this definition for simply the word Tat Vijnanena. He says, Visishtena Shastra Acharya Upadesha Janitena Shamadama Dhyana Sarvatyaga Vairagya Uddutena. We will get that kind of a state of jnana is what Shankaracharya said. This part I could not explain last time. So we thought we will do this. And then we will move on to the next mantra. Vidyate hritaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayah kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. Vidyate hridaya grantihi. Hridaya grandis chidyante. It is actually in sandhi. So if you do a padacheda, hridaya grantihi will become one word. Chidyante will become the next word. So vidyate hridaya grantihi. That is the first part. Chidyante sarva samshayaha. That is the second. Kshiyante cha asya karmani. Then tasmin drishte paravare. So there are 4 quarters in these 4 padas, which is there in most of the padyas anyway. And the 4 padas bring 4 important messages here. This is a very nice mantra. So there are 3 verbs here. Vidyate is one verb. Chidyante is another verb. Kshiyante is another verb. One verb is in singular. The second and the third verbs are in plural because what it is pointing to is also plural. So let us see what it says. Vidyate. Vidyate means that which loosens or removes or unknots, because here we are talking about hridaya granthi. Granthi is actually a knot. Granthi means knot. So hridaya grantihi. Looks like there is a knot in the heart which is quite tangled. So you need to untangle it now. So that is what happens with this process. That's what this first part of the mantra says. Vidyate hridaya grantihi. Then it says chidyante. Chidyante means nasha, destroy, dissolve, or remove. That's the meaning of chid. Chid is to cut or remove or destroy or whatever. Chetana, we say chedana, no? Is damage. So chidyante, this is in plural. Chidyante, not chidyate, chidyante. It is in plural because what is being destroyed? Sarva samshayaha, all doubts. The doubts are in plural. That's why the verb form is also in plural. Chidyante sarva samshayaha. All the doubts get obliterated. All the doubts get dissolved. There is no more doubts. That is the second part. Then third, it says kshiyante. Kshaya means getting lesser and lesser and lesser. And slowly, it will, you use a soap. The soap you keep on using, after you keep on using, it will become smaller and smaller and smaller. And one day, soap is not there. Or if you use a eraser, you keep on erasing with the eraser. As you keep on erasing, the eraser, the layers are peeled, it becomes smaller and smaller. One day it becomes non-existent. No? So that is the verb. Kshiya is to become lesser and lesser. Again, it says plural. So what is getting lesser and lesser? Cha asya karmani. That person's karmas get completely, slowly, it becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. And finally, one day it is not there. That kind of a situation. So there are 3 things we are told. And when it happens, tasmin drishte, when you develop that drishti, when you are yourself reveling in that drishti, when you are yourself completely engrossed. Tasmin is actually Saptami Vibhakti. That means you are part of it, in it, into it, that kind of a thing. Drishte, in that drishti, you are fully absorbed in that drishti. What drishti? Paravare. And where is this drishti? This drishti is in para and avara. Parecha, avarecha, paravare. Paracha, avaracha, paravara. Tasya saptama vibhakti paravare. So that's how that comes. What is this paravare? Para means higher, or we said para vidya and apara vidya. That is the subject matter of Mundakopanishad anyway. So para means ultimate, high, highest, the perfection, the ultimate goal. That is called para. Avara means lower, or in other words, apara. So what is this tasmin drishte paravare? It says you should be able to see, you should be able to experience this both in the higher and the lower. It is not that you become higher and then start looking down upon people. It's not that. Now I have now become the CEO, so all these fellows are useless. I have become the, the dean, or I have become the, manager of this branch. So therefore, all others are all okay. Not that kind of a feeling. You are able to see that oneness, because the Upanishad is talking about oneness. So you are able to see, have experience that sense of oneness in both the higher and the lower, which means everywhere. So you truly see that tasmin drishte paravare, when you experience that kind of a feeling of oneness, then these three things happen. Vidyate hridaya grantihi, chidyante sarva samshayaha, kshiyante asya karmani cha. Also, such a person's karmas also get dissolved. So that is what. So in other words, this mantra talks about three effects on account of tasmin drishte paravare, on account of that divine realization that the sadhaka experiences through all those meditative process that is being discussed in this section. What happens is the knot in the heart is loosened. Vidyate hridaya grantihi, chidyante asya saram samshayaha, all doubts get dispelled, and kshiyante asya karmani cha, all the karmas also are dissolved. Now, what is this knot? So let us look at each one of them. We need to understand what each one of them actually means. Because otherwise it looks like a very figurative expression. Beyond that, then we will miss out the essence of what is being told. So let us first start with the knot business. So what is this knot in the heart? That's the question. So what we see here is a granthi, Rajju granthi. It's a knot of a long rope. I mean, I'm taking this example because this is much easier for us to relate to. So that's why I'm taking this example. So the question, therefore, is what is this long? Why did I take this example? First of all, we all know that let's talk about this rope first. This rope is very long. And at least in the picture you see, this must be running to some 10-20 meters. It's all sort of bundled and then kept there. Now, I must share with you a personal experience. That's why I took this. See, once in a while, what I do is I go to the hardware shop and I go and ask them, can you give me half a kg of that channel, no? That rope. Sometimes you need to tie something, tie a cotton box. So, we keep searching for it. So I once in a while go and then get that rope. And every time it happens, he has it in a particular way, he gives it to me. And half a kg rope will be easily about, I think, 100 meters, I think, maybe 150 meters, I don't know. I bring it home and I find that, it's all like this. So I say, when we need it urgently, we may not be able to pull. I mean, if we try to do it, which we also have our own experience. Suppose I just brought it and then left it here. One day I need some rope. And I'm in great hurry. I just pull it. The rope will become much complex than what you see here. It will all get completely stuck, because there are complex pathways through which the rope is all bundled into. So what I do is I actually spend an hour. I come and then sit slowly, remove it, get that 100 meter as a single long rope, maybe take a stick and then roll it and keep it. Only then I can use it. Otherwise, once or twice I can use it. Otherwise, the whole thing is gone. Now, our Hridaya Granthi has lot of things parallel to this. That's why I brought this example. First thing is, what is this long? We are saying long. What is long in us? The rope inside our Hridaya Granthi is thousands and thousands and thousands kilometers long. Believe me. What do you mean by that? What I mean by that is the length of the rope that we have in our Hridaya is nothing but the length of the thousands and thousands of janmas that we have taken. That is what it is. Several janmas that we have gone through. Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam, which I was saying. Punarapi Janani Jatare Shayanam. Now, simple thing tells us, if the rope is very, very long, the first message is you have to handle it very carefully. And if you don't handle it carefully, the chances of that getting completely tangled, as you see it in the picture, is very, very high. So what does it mean? This Jivatma, which has gone through several janmas, has accumulated a lot of vasanas in it, and that Jivatma has to be properly handled. And if we don't handle it properly, we really do not know what to do with this rope, because the rope is in all shambles. It's all completely tangled. So this is what our life is all about, if you really ask me. So the question is, what do we do with this? We need to know, we have to preserve it properly. As that, example I said, pull it out and slowly, roll it on a stick or on some kind of a base, then you can really put it to some good use. In the same way, the Hridaya Granthi, in which we have accumulated long, long years of vasanas, we have to take it out. We have to put it, and we should also know why it gets tangled. Now, in our life, what happens? We think this is what we have to achieve. We think this is the measure of success. So we start fixing everything around us, and we start manipulating things in order to reach that. We have to get it at any cost. I have to get this promotion. At any cost, I have to make so much money. At any cost, I have to buy this gadget before this year. I should get this, solar roof vehicle or something. So this drives us, and then that creates a bit of pressure in us. So this is like quickly coming and then pulling a piece of thread to tie a cotton box. The thread will only get even more complicatedly tangled. So in the same way, we do so many things in life, so we can't do that way. So we need to ask, why is that happening? And why are we actually doing that? That's what all these shastras are telling us. So all these that this Mundakopanishad so far is saying is a mechanism by which we are able to somehow understand that this tangling of this rope should not happen. That's what it is. So we have to very carefully utilize it. There must be a discipline of keeping it. So therefore, that's why the Shama, Dhamma, Dhyana, Sarvatyaga, Vairagya that we saw in the previous Shankara Bhashya, all those or ways by which these long years of accumulated vasanas and this very long trail of things which has complicated our, it just complicates us. We end up doing that and then we feel about it. We learn something out of it which confuses our understanding of what is purpose of life. That means one more knot has come in the Hridaya Granthi. Then we try something else and we go that journey, and then in the process I hurt my father or my mother or my wife or my daughter, and then another knot has fallen into this heart. So this is how it is. We engage in so many things in life without that basic framework of what Shama, Dhyama, Sadhana, Shat Sampat, and Upasana. That's why all these are there. The Upasana Marga, the Bhakti Marga, the Karma Yoga that Bhagavad Gita talks about, how do you approach world. All these are mechanisms which are given to us so that this thread will, instead of getting tangled, will only get untangled. So that is the idea, because over long years, we have created a muck out of it. It's a bundle of a complex structure sitting in our heart. That is what this particular Upanishad is saying, that these practices will help us slowly uncoil this and remove all these knots. And then what is available to us is truly available to us to achieve the true goals of our life. So that is what is meant by this knot in the heart. So in Shankara Bhashya, what is being expressed? What does Shankara says? Hridaya Grantihi. What does he say? He says, Avidya Vasana Prochayah. This comes out of Avidya and Vasana, long years of Vasana, and this Avidya, not knowing what is the right, what is wrong, and generally, having imperfect goals of life and going after it. So that's what Avidya Vasana Prachayah. Buddhashrayah Kamaha. All these, the resident of all these is the Buddhi or the Manas, whichever way you want to say it. All these manifest in the form of Kama. So Buddhashrayah Kamaha. So he also quotes from the Shruti. This Kamo ye asya hiritishitaha. This particular shloka is available in Kathopanishad and in Brihadaranyaka. The same shloka is there. Kamo ye asya hiritishitaha. Like that one shloka is there. He is quoting that. Iti Shrutyantarat, because Shruti itself is already saying this, that Kama is the one which is creating this Granthi. He is quoting from the Shruti. Iti Shrutyantarat. Hridaya Ashrayaha Asau, na Atma Ashrayaha. This Kama is resident only in this heart, not in this Jivatma. It is not a quintessential element of that pure Atma. It is in the heart. That's why it is a Granthi there. If you scavenge it out of it, it is gone. It is not part of the Atma. It is Hridaya Ashrayaha Asau. Na Atma Ashrayaha. This is not part of your inherent nature. So that is why that Granthi is happening. This is what he is saying. So, in a way, what he is saying is because of ignorance, not knowing the right kind of framework and purpose of life, which results in desires, and those desires, abhimana, etc., all these drive actions. And I gave a few examples, and all these actions only tangle it even more and more, puts more and more knots into it, and makes it a completely a difficult proposition to handle. So that is the Hridaya Granthi. And the same thing is discussed in other Upanishads also. It is there in Kathopanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What will happen if the Hridaya Granthi is gone? Look at these two. This is a very famous part of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. If people don't learn Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they will learn only 4.3. The 4th chapter, 3rd section. This is a very beautiful conversation, Janaka and Yajnavalkya. So this is what people learn. In that, the 21st and the 22nd section has this understanding of what it is. Look at here. It says, Purushaha prajnena atmana samparishvaktaha. This Purusha is completely engulfed. Again, the word pari is coming here, you see. And parishvaktaha, he is engulfed completely by what? By prajna, which is the Paramatma. Prajnena atmana samparishvaktaha. What happens to that person? Na bahyam kinchana veda, na antaram. He doesn't know the inside and the outside. Everything is merged now. Na bahyam kinchana veda, na antaram. Tadva asya etat. So what happens to him? Apta kamam, atma kamam, akamam rupam, shokantaram. The apta kamam, the desire that he wanted to achieve. Apta is, this is what I want. Is nothing but atma kamam. That is that desire of knowing the atma, and he becomes akami. Akamam. So it's a nice choice of words. Apta kamam, atma kamam, akamam rupam shokantaram. He reaches a rupa of akama. Although his apta kama was atma kama, finally he ended up with being an akami. So that's what it says in the 21st. In the 22nd, this is a very famous thing. What happened to that person? He says, Atra pita apita bhavati, mata amata, loka aloka, deva adeva, veda aveda, atra steno bhavati, brunaha brunaha, chandalo chandalaha, paulkaso Shramano Shramanas tapaso nanvagatam punye nanvagatam papena tirno hi tada sarvan shokan hridayasya bhavati. He says, Atra pita apita bhavati. Father becomes no father anymore. Mata amata. Mata becomes, mother becomes no mother anymore. Loka aloka. The people around them become not that. Devaha devaha. The gods are no longer gods. Vedaha avedaha. The entire repository of Vedas no more are Vedas. Atra stenaha astenaha. The thief become no longer a thief. He become astena. Bhavati. Then Brunaha, one who killed the Brahmana becomes the one who did not kill. I mean, he is no longer that. Abrunaha Bhavati. The Chandala is no longer a Chandala for him. The Paulkasa. Paulkasa means, you'll see all these terms in Arthashastra. All these are intercaste marriage titles actually. Paulkasa is the son born of a Shudra father and a Kshatriya mother. Like that, there are so many combinations are there. This Paulkasa is a word like that. We have Mlecha, you have like that, no? So this is Paulkasa. So the Paulkasa is no longer a Paulkasa. The Shramana is no longer a Shramana. The sage is no longer a sage. The Tapasa is Atapasa. One who is a hermit, one who does tapas. He is no longer, for him, he is no one. Atapasaha. Ananvagatam punyena. He no longer enters in punya. Ananvagatam papena. He no longer enters in papa. So this papa and punya and all those, he doesn't enter into all that. Then tada sarvan shokan hridayasya tirno bhavati. He crosses all shokas in the heart. What this Mundakopanishad says in 2 lines is exactly being told here in a different way here in this mantra in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Look at this mantra in Kathopanishad. It says, Yada sarve prabidyante hridayasyeha grantayah ata martyo mrito bhavati yetavadyanushasanam. Yada sarve prabidyante hridayasyeva grantayah. All the Hridaya granthi loosens. Yada such a thing happens. Ata, then thereafter, martyaha, this mortal being, birth and death, amrito bhavati, he reaches immortality. Etavad adhyanam, etavadhyanam, dhyanushasanam, etavadhi anushasanam. This is actually the rule. This is actually the ordinance or the ultimate thing that can happen. That's what Kathopanishad is saying. Doubts dispelled. So Shankaracharya says, Samshayaha. What are the Samshayaha? Laukikanam amaranat. Up to death. That means not only in this Janma, in every Janma. Amaranat. Ganga Srotavat. Water in Ganga keeps flowing all the time. It never dries. That is the example we take. Ganga Srotavat Pravrittaha. These doubts are perennially there. There is no state that we are doubt-free because we think this is what it is. Finally, that's not what it is. So we doubt, is this the right way to do? Is it the purpose of life? We thought making a lot of money is purpose of life. That doesn't seem to be true. We thought getting excessive power is goal of life and salvation. That is not true. So we try 100 things and we are full of doubts. And why do these doubts happen in worldly people? The doubts are arising out of these 5 pairs of opposites that I have put here. We have talked about it in many of the Gita and other lectures. So I'm not getting into the details. The doubts is our inability to separate from real and unreal. Our inability to know what is Sat and Satyam and Mithya, true and untrue. Our inability to differentiate between what is Dharma and Adharma. Our inability to differentiate between what is permanent and what is perishable. Because many things what we think we take for granted as permanent are actually perishable. Money is perishable, age is perishable, relationship is perishable, world is perishable, our life is perishable, our riches are perishable. But in a very practical sense, most of us work with an understanding as though they are permanent. Similarly, what is important and what is unimportant. So a lot of these, Nitya, Nitya Vastu Vichara, all these are part of it. So all these create doubts. That's what happens. Whereas the Upanishad says when you go through all, so basically all these drives the rights and wrongs in our world of Vyavahara. So the Upanishad is saying that this, when once you identify yourself with the ultimate, you will get clarity in all of these. That's why he says, Chiyante Sarva Samshayaha. So that is what it is saying. And finally it says, so the clarity that one gets is like the clarity of a dreamer upon waking. Because, in dream, so many things happen. I am being operated upon. I have a lot of confusion, whether I will survive, whether I have to take a lot of medicine, whether the expenses are far too many. All kinds of things can happen in a dream. Moment you wake, all those become irrelevant. All those go simply out of context. The same way, when the ultimate experience and the jnana sampatana happens, then it just evaporates all these doubts. So that is what it is actually saying. Shiyante asya samshayaha. Then the karma is dissolved. We have what is called agami karma, sanchita karma, and prarabdha karma. So what happens is, look at this shloka in Bhagavad Gita. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha jnanagni dagda karmanam. That buddhaha, that great people, that pandita, all learned people call him as a Buddha, one who has actually burnt all the karma through the fire of knowledge, jnana agni. So just now the Upanishad said, tad vijnanena, amrutam rupam vibhati. That's what we saw. So the knowledge has a power to burn the karmas. That's why it says jnana agni dagda karmanam. Krishna says that. So by the power of jnana, what will happen is the agami karma and the sanchita karma will be burnt, which means that tank in which karma is there and the tank in which we are going to pour some more karma at the end of this janma, they are all burnt. So what is remaining now? Prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma, nobody has a control. Once it has started, it will run its full course. So, but at the end of this janma, when we drop the body, the prarabdha karma also goes. So therefore, for a jnani, all the karmas gets completely dissolved. So that is what this particular mantra says. So that's why it says, Vidyate hrite grantihi, chidyante sarva samshayaha, kshiyante cha asya karmani, tasmin drishte paravare. It's a very beautiful mantra. Just 3 pairs of effects, but one needs to reflect deeply on it. And that is the power of many of these mantras in Mundakopanishad. I think with this, we will close it for the day. Next week, I'm actually traveling and I may not be in a position to even in a place where I travel to have a class. So therefore, we meet the week after next. So with this, we will close this week's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Ratri.